We made it into the school without a hitch. Our lockers were in the same part of the hall, so we quickly unloaded what we needed to and got our important books and necessities. First incident of the day.
Why did I think that the year was already?
No, it's close to over, but no. As I walked towards Susan and Naomi, who were both waiting for me on the opposite side of the hall, something hooked my ankle and made me fall forward. Ah! Ow!
Hey, are you okay? Who did that?
The three of us looked back to see Lisette and her gaggle of girls. Lisette had a look of complete innocence while the girls around her giggled like no tomorrow.
That's it, I'm shitting in your lunch!
Why, you little... Suzu, don't!
I felt a giant fire of anger burn in my stomach as I stared at Lisette. Today was not the only time this had happened to me. However, it was now clear who was behind these incidents. Even if she was innocent and one of her goons did it, it was now obvious that Lisette was the mastermind just from the look on her face. She was no friend, nor would she ever be. I had to do something. I'm about to beat her ass, 'cause it's nostalgic for me. I've had enough. I felt adrenaline rush through my body as I pounced off the ground and rushed at Lisette. I was not going to be the only one with scrapes this time. I tackled Lisette to the ground, swiping and slapping her innocent face. She screamed in fright before trying to push me off and block my attacks.
Holy shit! Anderson! Stop it!
I wasn't listening anymore. I let my carnal need to get revenge take over as I began to pull at Lisette's hair to try to get better aim at her face with my free hand. I have had enough of the bullying, the wounds, the insults. All of that was going to burn in the past as I scraped my nails and hand across Lisette's face over and over. My rebellion would be marked on her pretty face for all to see. Lisette pushed me off and scrambled to her feet, both panicked and angry at the same time. Her emotion was nowhere near close to the anger I was feeling.
Are you crazy? What the hell?
I stood up very slowly, glaring daggers into Lisette's soul through her eyes. I must have had some sort of monster behind me. Or maybe I looked like the monster myself. But the gaggle of girls, Lisette's, and even my friends had a look of pure terror on their faces. I've had enough of you, Lisette. You obviously won't stop unless I fight back. Well, guess what? You're gonna get it! I charged Lisette a second time, shoving her hard against the lockers. She let out a yelp of pain as she smacked the back of her head against the metal behind her before glaring and shoving me back. As I stumbled back, Lisette raised her hands, ready to fight.
Then come on, Anderson. Show me what you've got. I bet it's not much.
Kick her in the cooch.
I felt myself snarl in anger before raising my own fist. Remembering my taekwondo, I quickly snapped onto one leg and raised the other leg to get a swift kick at her head, but she blocked with her arm and stepped towards me to jab at me. She had training, not surprising. I didn't care at the moment. I bent back from the incoming jab, reestablishing my balance as I placed both feet on the floor. Lisette threw jab upon jab at me, forcing me to block my torso and face with my arms and hands. Hit for hit, Lisette and I exchanged and defended blows at each other. It was indeed more than just a catfight. This was a vengeful duel. In my mind, all I saw was Lisette. All I wanted to do was to make her stop, and if that meant beating her down, then it had to be done. We eventually gained a small crowd of people, all silent but observing the fight. My anger intensified, and my hits became harder with each second that passed between us. I couldn't let her win. I wouldn't let her win. None of Lisette's girls dared step in, apparently afraid to after seeing our skills and our individual fighting styles. Suzu held back Naomi's arm, despite both of them wanting to help me. They didn't wait long for it to end, though. Suddenly, Lisette was pulled away from me, and I was pushed against the lockers by a strong force. Lisette hit the lockers as well on the opposite end of the hallway, letting out a girly grunt of pain. I looked up to see my art teacher, Miss Gordon, holding me against the lockers, with a look of surprise and concern on her face.
Miss Anderson, what are you doing?
I looked to see Lisette being held back by Miss Phillips, trying to cry innocently.
What the fuck does it look like I'm doing? I'm teaching this bitch a lesson.
I knew what was going to come out of her mouth, so I tried to push Miss Gordon off and to confront her. Miss Gordon, however, kept an arm wrapped around me, keeping me back. No, don't you dare start crying, Lisette! You started this!
Miss Anderson, get a hold of yourself!
What is wrong with you? What did I ever do to you? I couldn't stop the angry tears running down my face as I shouted from across the hallway. Lisette and Miss Phillips stared in shock at my screams as Miss Gordon tightened her hold on me. I'm so sick of it! Leave me alone! Eventually, I lost my energy and began to weigh down in Miss Gordon's arms, letting my sadness take over and quench my anger with tears and swelling pain. I could feel Miss Gordon hug me to her to keep me upright as Lisette sniffled and confided with Miss Phillips.
I didn't do anything to her! She just attacked me all of a sudden.
That's a lie, Lisette. You tripped her on purpose. You've always been a snobby prick to us.
Never! I gave my condolences about her grandfather's death! I try to keep everyone calm. Is that so wrong?
Welcome to the grounded world of actual adulthood. The last legs of youth scrape by and your body hits its peak, and keeping up with the trends now becomes difficult for the real kid. Congratulations on level 30. Thank you very much, I really appreciate it, DJ. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the 100 bits, I really appreciate it.
You didn't even sound sincere! We know you were only pretending to be nice to spite us!
Enough! Miss White, follow me to the dean's office.
Lisette followed, wiping her eyes in a feigned innocence she knew how to play up. I remained still in Miss Gordon's arms, unable to bring myself to fight to get at Lisette again. I had done my damage. The gaggle of Lisette wannabes would make sure I became infamous around the school. I didn't care. I made my statement on Lisette's face and body, and I wasn't afraid to do it again. Miss Gordon, however, wasn't done with me.
Come with me, sweetie.
I nodded and followed. My friends frowned as they watched me leave, but they headed to class without. Miss Gordon led me to an empty classroom, which she had claimed as hers. It looked like all of the other classrooms, but art posters lined the walls. Many students loved the room, but hated one thing: the mirror in the very back of the room. It was one thing Miss Gordon loved to use against her students. With it, she was able to see who was using their phones and who was actually studying. Miss Gordon led me to the back of the room and sat me down in front of it.
What do you see?
Huh?
Tell me what you see.
I looked in the mirror and saw myself. My clothes were a little ruffled from the fight, but beyond that, I just saw me. Nothing about me seemed different than normal. I see myself. I have little money! I was working off of crowdfunded sources.
Alright. What else?
What else? I don't understand.
Do you know what I see? I see a brilliant woman who has been working her butt off to try and find herself. She just has a little bit of adversity in her way.
Adversity. Sorry, I forgot to correct that for you. What does this have to do with what happened with Lisette?
Listen, don't think about Lisette right now. She's just another student who doesn't know what you're going through.
I stared at myself in the mirror, unable to tear my eyes away. She was right, but I still lingered on what happened with Lisette. I know Miss Gordon was only trying to help, but I couldn't fight the thoughts in my head. Miss Gordon gently rubbed my shoulders, snapping me from my thoughts. I looked up to see her smile down at me through the mirror.
You know, those were some pretty interesting moves. Taekwondo?
Yeah.
You'll have to show me one day.
I laughed as she hugged me gently.
Look, don't let Lisette get to you, okay? You have your own battles to face, and you can face them just fine. Instead of fighting Lisette, focus on your goals.
I looked up at her and nodded slightly. It was cliché to hear, but she was telling the truth. I needed to focus on myself first. She gave me a small packet of tissues and told me that she would handle Lisette. The fear about my family learning of this had vanished when she promised to keep me out of it as much as she could.
Everything will be fine now. You're a good student, so I'll let you off with a severe warning. Just don't get into any more fights, okay?
Promises.
Now, get to class.
Miss Gordon is also a backed character. There is a person who spent money for this character to be in the game. I cannot expand with this character beyond what has already been done. I nodded before heading to class. Surprisingly, the rest of the school day went off without another incident. I went to my classes, had lunch, and was anxious to get home. As the bell rang for school to end, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. Huh? A text? From Dad? I'll be picking you up today. Make sure you're ready to go when I get there. That's kind of a surprise. I quickly headed to my locker and got my things before waiting for Naomi and Suzu.
Hey, are you ready to go?
Yeah, actually, my dad's picking me up.
Really? Okay, I guess that kind of makes sense.
We'll drive home together next time. Tell your dad that we've got you covered from now on.
Yeah, alright. Even while I laughed, something didn't seem right. My dad texted me to say this? Why was he going to pick me up? Had I done something wrong? I didn't know. I waved goodbye to Naomi and Susie before heading off to the usual spot where my dad picked me up. I took the time to listen to my music while I waited. I need to go to another Rise of the Phoenix concert. Eventually, I'd played the entire album with no one showing up. What the heck? Dad's never late. Especially not this late. I quickly dialed my dad's number again, but as soon as I pressed call, it disconnected and read a signal disconnection error message. What the? No signal error? How do I not have signal? I double-checked my phone and saw all 5 bars for signal. He must be in a dead zone. Before I could finish, a group of hands grabbed my hands, feet, and covered my mouth. I screamed into the hand over my mouth, struggling to pull away from the hands grabbing at my limbs. It felt disgusting and scary, feeling their hands on me. I needed it to stop.
Hey! Don't dirty up Malix's prey!
The voice, which sent a fearful shiver down my spine, whispered into my ear.
You're coming with me, Miss Anderson.
I couldn't fathom what was happening, but before I knew it, I was blindfolded and my limbs were quickly tied up. I felt myself being carried somewhere and was shoved into something that echoed the interior of a bus or a van. The doors closed and off I was taken, unsure of where I was going and why. All I knew was that I was in trouble. All I saw was darkness. I felt numb as I was taken to a place I didn't know of. I couldn't even move my lips to scream. Sounds zipped past my ears, first of the interior of the car, then the outside, an echoey space with the whispers and cackles of people vibrating through it. Recognize this? I drew this for an April Fool's episode. This art was done by Badriel. I replicated it in my own beautiful art for the April Fool's joke. However, the wrapper on my eyes was eventually removed from my face and my bonds were cut. It took a while for my eyes to adjust, but I found myself in a warehouse surrounded by devils, including Malix, who was smirking at me.
Nicely done! I'm sure those little shits will come running to find you when they realize you didn't return to your precious little mansion. They'll search everywhere for you.
Malix walked over and set a barrel of his gun against the skin between my eyes.
It'll be so funny when they find your dead body instead.
Amais! All of a sudden, a bright purple light engulfed the room, causing the devils around me to cover themselves.
What the?
Wait, I was wrong. She's not a scholar, she's a summoner.
That too. Gusts of wind rushed past me, almost forcing me back. I covered my face with my arms, bracing myself and standing my ground. I tried to peek through my arms to see what was going. Why are you biting my shoulder? But the light continued to shine brightly. As the gust slowly started to die, the light began to fade, revealing a very pissed off Sam. Sam?
Don't worry, I got you.
At that moment, Sam didn't even give Malix a chance to breathe. As I blinked, I saw Sam's fist ram itself into Malix's cheek, sending the devil flying back against the wall of the warehouse we were in.
You motherfucker!
Sam was relentless. He quickly followed Malix to the wall and began slamming his fist into. This is ora 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 ora. An imprint of Sam's body began to form into the wall as Malix was beaten in. The remaining devils stared, trying to figure out what to do, help Malix or watch in silence. Eris, however, walked up beside me and crossed her arms as she watched with an amused smirk on her face.
Get off!
At least buy me dinner or drink first.
With the blast of heat, Sam was forced back from Malix. Sam slid on the balls of his feet, covering his face from the burst of heat that had forced him back. Malix, on the other hand, was practically on fire. His menacing eyes glared deadly daggers at Sam as Malix gripped his gun.
You're dead, Incubus!
Malix pried himself from the wall and began to fire hot bullets at Sam. However, none of the bullets made it to Sam's body. With a blink of an eye, Sam had disappeared from his spot and reappeared at Malix's side, ready to lay a heavy punch to Malix's head.
Too slow!
Again, if I had more money, more fight CGs! Malix, though, wasn't as slow as Sam thought. Malix quickly turned to shoot at Sam, who barely had the time to dodge it. It quickly turned into a fight, with Sam using his speed to dodge and try to hit Malix, and Malix using his gun and devil-like skills to try and lock onto Sam's appearing form. It was almost too fast to follow. Literally. However, I could tell something inside Sam had changed. He wasn't holding anything back in this fight. It was as if something incredibly demonic had taken a hold of him and forced each punch he threw and step he made. Was this the instant of demon power? I didn't have a chance to answer myself. As Sam tried to dodge Malix, Sam tripped and landed on one knee with a loud thump.
Gotcha, bitch!
I gasped in horror. Sam had no chance to dodge or run. I could only stare petrified as Malix charged forward and jammed the barrel of his gun into Sam's mouth.
Eat hellfire, Incubus!
And then, at that moment, something in the air changed. The air instantly went from frantic to still and energy. What could have been described in Tona's color of red quickly turned to a deadly mix of purple and green as everything began to blend together at once.
Oh no, he's about to go Super Saiyan.
My eyes never strayed from Sam's face, however, even as it changed. His eyes began to glow a bright golden color, as Sam began to bite down on the gun in his mouth. As the trigger was pulled, the gun was snapped in two between Sam's teeth. Small fragments of the gun flew everywhere, while the look on Malix's face went from confused to petrified. Before Malix could utter a single response, Sam let out an animalistic roar, sending waves of fear down my spine and tackled Malix to the ground. Mood. I stared as Sam began to slam punches into Malix's face, one right after the other. Sam's skin began to morph and shift with each punch, changing from human to something else. Before I was allowed to see Sam's new form, however, a pair of hands quickly covered my eyes. Instinctively, I reached up and gripped them, trying to pull them off. A voice stopped me.
It's me. Don't look.
I listened carefully and let the last two words linger in my mind. Don't look? Why? What was being hidden from me? I wanted to know, but something told me to obey Damien's command. I could still hear Sam screaming and grunting with each punch he rammed into Malix's face, with the occasional cracking of bone and blood spattering echoing into the air. Maybe it was better that I wasn't able to see.
That's enough, Sam!
Almost instantly, after James's command, the sound stopped. The only thing anyone could hear then was Sam's pants and grunts for air.
Malix is dead, and you've lost your glamour spell.
Shut up.
Glamour spell? What did he mean? Why did Sam sound so different? Why was this being hidden from me?
It's a spell that makes us look human.
I froze. Look human? They didn't look like humans after all? What did they look like?
Like demons.
Duh. As if Matthew knew what Damien was talking about, Matthew spoke up, followed by the sound of a cork popping out of a bottle.
Well, not for much longer. Here. Let's go. You gotta regain your glamour spell and you're all out of energy. Come on.
Malix is totally dead. He's totally dead. He's fine. He's totally dead. He's totally dead. Absolutely 100% dead.
Fine. Whatever.
Where was it in a Wolf Monk book?
His glamours?
No, just like in general. Glamours.
Oh, I don't know. Like, it'd be Lady Green's, Lady Greenleaf. Yeah, Lady Greenleaf is one of them who does back alley ones, and then the other one's from the Council of Witches. I could hear the small clinking of glass being passed before hearing Sam guzzle down a liquid of some sort. The feeling of the air around me gently began to warm back up, insinuating that everything had been returned to normal. Finally, Damien moved his hands from my eyes, allowing me to see around me once again. The devils, including Eris, had fled. On top of Malix's body was a dirty sheet that was quickly turning red from blood. I could see that Malix's face was completely caved in, making a dip in the blanket. The boys, however, had gathered around me, all of them, including Sam, looking like nothing had happened. What just... I tried to speak, but everything zipped around my head at the whole event, and I felt like speaking was impossible.
Let's just get you home, miss. There's nothing more to see here.
I could only nod. What had happened boggled my mind to the point of disbelief. I was second-guessing everything, lost in a sea of what and how and when. As we walked out of the warehouse, I looked to Sam for some sort of sign that I wasn't dreaming. Sam kept his eyes down and away from me. It was over. Malix was gone, and the boys were finally safe. A wave of relief ran through my body at the thought of never having to deal with that group again. At the same time, a pang of realization hit the back of my mind. Thank you. The boys were only going to stay until after Malix was defeated. That was our deal. As we approached home, I could feel something heavy weigh my heart down. It was late, but the boys led me inside and turned on the lights in the lobby.
Finally, we can relax.
It will be good to have some rest without devils breathing down our necks.
I'm just tired. Can I hit the hay early?
I think some sleep would be good for all of us.
I looked at Damien, knowing he could read my mind, and frowned. I didn't want him to know about my thoughts on the situation. Yeah, that sounds good. I wanted to just end tonight. Too much had happened and I felt dizzy just trying to figure it out. However, Damien spoke up, stopping us all from moving.
Should we be gone in the morning?
The air became still with tension. The realization of the situation hit the boys like a wave, forcing them to turn to me in concern and curiosity. They had remembered their deal, and were now waiting for me to decide their fate. I gulped, face to face with the reality of the situation. The boys were leaving it up to me, and they looked like they were willing to accept whatever I had demanded. Only fair, though, after all that happened. Looking to Sam, feeling my heart flutter in my chest. I didn't want him to leave, but would he ask to stay? I hoped that he would say no and ask me to stay longer. As if he knew what I wanted, Sam moved and stepped up to me, putting his hands in his pockets and looking down at the ground. He was still ashamed of what he'd done, but he spoke to me regardless.
Hey, I kinda... I wanted to thank you for your energy and stuff. Well, I kinda want to stay here. Can we stay here? Please?
No, get your own house.
Lamau! My heart skipped while a large red blush ran across my cheeks. The boys stared at Sam wide-eyed, but didn't dare to speak out. Sam stepped back to give me space, returning to where he was. Nah, hit the road, you bozos! Alright, where all of you, well, scram, get out of here, all of you! Except you can stay. I moved my gaze around each boy, trying to make a decision. If they left in the morning, I would never see them again, and my life could return to normal. If I did decide to let them go, that would have been for the best. No goodbyes, no delays. But did I want to? They had done so much for me in such a small amount of time. Stay with me, don't let me go, 'cause I can't breathe without you. I wanted them to stay. I wanted him to stay. I merely smiled, staring at the man I had come to have feelings for, before speaking at last. I would love it if you all could stay. The boys cheered tiredly, but nonetheless enthusiastically. I giggled at the sight. It was cute to see everyone so excited, despite the tiredness that ran equally through our bodies. Today was a rough day. My home is your home, as long as you can still help with the chores. Yes, Kitty, you can. The boys nodded in unison, agreeing to the terms I had set for them. Despite the good situation, I found myself slowly slipping into unconsciousness. However, James quickly clapped his hands together, getting everyone's attention and waking me up, making sure I didn't pass out on the floor.
All right, everyone. We're all very tired, so let's head to bed, shall we?
Oh! Yeah, sleep is actually a thing. Right.
We've had a very long day, but it will be good to just relax tonight and tomorrow.
Sleep sounds really good right now.
Yeah, man.
I watched a happy smile grow onto Sam's lips. He shared my excitement, knowing that we could be together longer. Who knew how long we could stay together? All I cared about was that I would be with him. The others quickly left to finally rest, leaving me and Sam alone at last. So what would happen if the boys and Brian were all in the same room? I picked Brian, duh. Hello? Hello! He's literally all of them combined! Why would I want one when I can have all of them in him?
Plus, I'm real.
Hello! My heart fluttered a bit as Sam walked closer to me, looking to his feet. He was nervous, but it was really cute to see him that way. So I didn't do anything but smile.
Hey, thanks for letting us stay.
You're welcome, Sam. I'm happy to have you stay here. I watched his smile brighten a bit before he cleared his throat and looked up to me with a serious face. Yes, my love?
Real quick, what happens if you leave?
If you let them go?
Yeah.
They leave.
Okay.
Yeah, they straight up leave. And they opens up 4 more options. I didn't know if it was the tiredness or my growing attachment to him, but I felt myself sway a bit on my feet. However, Sam's face made it clear that he wanted to say something else, making me forget that my bed was also called for.
Listen, about what happened at the warehouse.
No, it's fine. You did what you had to do. I understand. I accepted everything that happened and knew Sam had to do what he had to do. He was real, and he was someone I didn't want to be without, even if that meant nodding against my curiosity. Besides, I was too tired to explore that memory further. Sam nodded before holding out a hand to me.
Come on, let's get you to bed.
I nodded before Sam gently lifted me up in his arms like a bride and carried me to my room. I didn't want to leave his arms, leaning my head against Sam's chest, but eventually I was slowly lowered to my bed and covered with my bed covers. I was still in my school clothes, but I was too tired to strip or care. I looked at Sam, fighting a yawn from escaping me as he gently ran a hand over my hair.
Get some sleep, alright? I'll make some breakfast again for you in the morning.
I nodded with a tired smile before watching him slowly stand and leave my room, closing the door. My bed has room for 2. No. A wave of happiness washed over me as I laid in bed. I made a good choice. Sure, it would be hard, but I could tell that I was going to be able to manage it. What the hell is my foot on? Oh, god damn it. Oh, god damn it. Sure, it would be hard, but I could tell that I was going to be able to manage it. Help around the house, and being with a man who I was slowly starting to fall for would be worth it. Jello Squid! Is that you? The amazing artist? Is that you? Oh my goodness. Hello. Hello, my friend. By the way, Jello Squid, if you are indeed who I am thinking of and my memory is not fucking me over, made an amazing animatic with Seduce Me involved. You should all check it out. And check out their channel. It's fantastic and amazing. Their Instagram is great. Their art's great. Go check it out. Okay, bye. I slowly felt my exhaustion take over. I let sleep consume me as I drifted into the darkness of my mind. Everything was peaceful. I was happy. And that's the end, guys! Yay! The credits now roll! Yay! It's the ending, guys! Why is no one believing me? Literally, it's the end! Yay! It's the end! Do you see the credits are about to roll, guys? I'm not lying! You see, there's the credits right there! Oh.
You are an interesting creature.
And allow me to do exactly what every single one of my friends has done in acknowledgement of the tradition. And you are a bitch! Oh, I opened my eyes to see a woman staring down at me with, again... Why does everyone say that she's a bitch immediately when she comes on? I opened my eyes to see a woman staring down at me with a very sly smirk on her face. I opened my mouth to scream in fright, but a hand quickly covered my mouth.
No screaming now. Too early, silly girl.
Hey, baby, why are you speaking in my ear?
I could only stare up at the woman above me. I still felt weak, not having the strength to move or fight her off. What was going on? Why was she here?
Why do the boys like you? You're unique, yes, but that can't be all that you have going for you.
Rage began to consume my core again. This woman, whoever she was making me mad. She must have known as she let the smirk grow onto her face.
Ooh, you're feisty. That could be why.
Before I could bite her hand in anger, she removed her hand from my lips, standing up and staring down at me from her place next to my bed. I quickly sat up and glared daggers at the intruder. She was very beautiful, but I felt more anger than amazement. Who the hell are you and why are you in my room? The woman began to laugh, making the rage inside me increase. I wanted to punch her, but I waited for her answer.
How silly of me. I forgot that we demons are not well known of in your world. You can call me Diana, little human.
May I present to you who half the community calls Mommy?
Oh.
Diana? Demon? You're a demon?
I am. But I'm much more than just an average demon.
What do you mean?
Silly girl. I'm a succubus.
I stared at Diana in shock. This is... Huh? Well, you think it was the 1,000 bits? You are way too kind, way too sweet. Thank you.
So does that mean I can good suck?
Yes. She gives amazing suck. Canonically, she gives amazing suck. I stared at Diana in shock. A succubus? First incubi, now a succubus. Great! I had now met both genders of sex demons. Diana crossed her arms under her bosom and looked at my body.
Well, you are pretty. But you seem very reckless. Too reckless.
I don't even know the meaning of the...
What's that word?
What does it mean?
I moved out from the bed, still glaring at Diana. Why are you here?
Oh, I just wanted to see who my competition was.
Competition?
For the boys, of course. They don't belong here, and yet here they remain. I want to know why, and remedy this little issue.
This girl was seriously pissing me off. Issue? What issue? They want to stay here so they can.
Silly, uneducated human. You don't understand the important roles these boys play in the abyssal planes. You keeping them here is practically imprisonment.
You have about 10 seconds to leave.
Is that a threat? How cute. What are you going to do? Kill me?
And if I do?
You barely have the strength to stand, little human. I can rip the rest of your energy out and knock you into a coma. You'll never be able to wake up again.
Touch me and I'll...
Enjoy every minute of it.
I felt my body freeze and heat up with almost a painful haze. My mind began to feel fuzzy as Diana stepped up to me and caressed my cheek.
Now, you're going to listen to everything I say without any questions. Got it?
At least get a reward at the end?
I nodded.
Good. I plan to bring the boys back to the Abyssal Plains. Why? So that I can take my place as queen of their realm. They have no reason to be here in this silly little world, so I'm going to make sure they return home. Okay, Pumpkin?
I nodded, but growled. My rage could not be concealed, despite the hold I was under.
Yeah, okay.
You evil bitch.
Call me evil all you want, dearie. I'm not evil. You're just in my way.
I felt Diana lean into my ear and whisper, making me unconsciously shiver both in pleasure and annoyance.
Now, be a good little human and go to bed. I'll make sure they're gone before you get home tomorrow from school, so make sure to say goodbye in the morning.
Okay.
I felt my body move on its own to lay in bed and cover itself with my bedsheets. I glared at Diana my entire way down. See, at this point I just imagine Mika just holding up two middle fingers as like her body's forcing her to lay in bed. Diana laughed at my futility. I'll get you.
Oh, please do.
All of a sudden her voice deepened and became cold and demonic, sending a violent shiver down my spine. Her red eyes practically illuminated in the darkness of my room as she glared at me.
Give me a reason to make your life a living hell.
I gritted my teeth, trying to fight back against the hold on me. She couldn't have been that tough. She needed energy to survive, right? I was sure she couldn't have had enough to hold me down forever. Diana then laughed and returned to normal.
Oh, and make sure you don't tell the boys I was here. I want my visit to be a surprise.
I felt the hold on me disappear, allowing me to sit up and practically growl at Diana in rage. What's stopping me?
Then you must not care about your friends and family as much as you care for the boys.
I stopped and stared. What does she mean by this? Is that a threat to my family? Diana smirked at me, knowing the confusion behind my eyes.
Let's just say that if you tell the boys about me, I'll make sure that no one will care for you, and you'll be all alone in this little house until the day you die.
I could feel fear creeping into me. Alone? Why would she do that? The word demon reverberated in my head, reminding me that I was facing off against something else supernatural. A human with a shield versus a devil was one thing. Human on her own versus a demon was another.
Have a good night.
With that, Diana sank into the floor through a magic purple pentagram, which disappeared as her head vanished into the floor.
I can imagine, like, right as the animation down, I hear, like, a slide whistle.
Like, like there's like a penny whistle? It's like... I couldn't believe it. I had one problem and now I had another. Instead of a crazy psycho devil who wanted to kill me and the boys, I had a succubus wanting to ruin my life and take the boys away. And my life any worse.
Oh, it will, I assume.
But what if I asked for a kiss? No, I wasn't going to let her win. She's not as powerful as she looks. I know it. Oh, sweet, innocent summer child, you know nothing. I had to mentally confirm it. She wasn't going to win. The boys wanted to stay with me. I let out a sigh before closing my eyes, affirming my plan of action. No matter what she was going to do, I was going to beat her. Eventually, the morning arrived and the sun screamed at me to get up. Surprisingly, I woke up before my alarm once again, which was nice. I stretched out and quickly got dressed, getting ready for school. She expects me to say goodbye to the boys. I will say good morning, and we'll see them when I come back. No way am I going to say goodbye. I scooped in my bag and headed downstairs to the dining room, seeing the boys already eating a delicious selection of food. The smell made my stomach growl wildly as the sight of food drew me to walk further into the room.
Good morning, miss. Did you sleep well?
Before I could lie, hiding the incident in the back of my mind, Damien furrowed his eyebrows and stopped eating.
She's here.
The boys looked at Damien in confusion while I cursed his ability silently in my mouth.
Damien, what's up with you? Of course she's here. She kinda owns the house.
Damien looked to me, wanting me to explain for him. However, the threats that Diana gave me last night warned me to keep my mouth shut.
I'm gonna say it, 'cause fuck you, bitch!
Damien pressed his lips together into a fine line. The other boys looked at me with a raised eyebrow. A girl named Diana came by last night.
Diana? Is she important?
Did she try to hurt you?
No, she's a succubus. A single word made the boys stop and stare at me. I looked at each boy, unsure of what was going on through their minds. Could I have avoided it?
So, she's come to try and bring us back.
She must really be desperate.
Well, what should we do now?
Nothing. She'll give up eventually.
Will she?
The boys continued to look at me as if I knew the answer to that question. Damn it, Damien! She said that if I told you, she'd make my life a living hell. She can't possibly do that, right? She's not a devil.
No, she isn't. However, she is a very powerful demon.
She's a master of mind manipulation and has been trained in illusion. Unlike other demons who use strength to get power, she uses her charisma.
She has the power to make armies bow to her and obey her every whim. That's why she's so obsessed with us.
What do you mean?
Well, she sorta has family ties to us. She was promised to marry one of us in exchange for more power.
She's just some whacked up hussy who doesn't know how to close her legs. She's not a real threat.
Oh, really? I feel insulted.
The boys and I looked around the room, wondering where the voice was coming from. I felt cold sweat run down the back of my neck in fear, remembering what kind of power she had. At last, we saw Diana by the entrance of the kitchen, juggling a single red apple in her hand as she leaned against the archway. The boys quickly surrounded me, glaring at the intruder.
It's symbolic.
So, you took up a human name as well.
Beautiful name, isn't it? Well, for a human name, anyway.
What the hell do you want?
To bring you back, of course. However, you weren't supposed to know that I was coming. I completely forgot about that little mind-reading ability. My mistake.
Diana pushed off the archway and walked towards us, making the boys step closer to me in a protective circle. Diana laughed.
My. What has the world come to? A group of demons protecting a human girl? I'll tell you right now, she's not that pretty. And from what I can tell, she's still a virgin.
To those of you who have played Seduce Me 2, how are your feelings right now? Give me a little bit of a taste of your conflicted feelings right now.
In terms of?
They know. My face grew red in complete anger and embarrassment. How dare she? Oh, hell no! I stepped up, gently pushing the boys away to be face to face with Diana. I was furious and she was about to feel my wrath. You are in my house. You are an intruder. You have no power here.
Oh, really? Do I have to remind you of the power I have, dear?
With a snap of her fingers, my mind suddenly locked up and I felt blank. I could see the world around me, but I lost control of my body. The boys quickly reformed around me with James gripping onto Diana's wrist in anger.
You will leave this instant.
Or what? You'll kill me? I completely dare you to.
Let me do it. I could use the workout.
Don't.
The boys looked at Damien while Diana smirked in my blank state. I wanted to fight this whole, but her power held me down.
And why not?
She wants us to kill her. If she dies, then civil war starts in the demon world.
About that.
Very good, sweetie.
What happens in the demon world doesn't concern us anymore. We live here now.
The demons will come to the human world and hunt us down before attacking each other.
Demons will come to the human world? All because of her?
You sneaky bitch.
With another snap of Diana's fingers, I was released from her hold, almost buckling to my knees.
Well, will you all change your minds? I assure you, it's for the greater good.
I expected the boys to say no. What I heard was complete silence. None of the boys replied to Diana, which made me both nervous and fearful as to why. Diana leaned her head back a bit, surprised for a different...
No. Well, I see.
James! James, just go! This is your birthright, you bitch! Was silence truly them saying no to her? I looked around at the boys and saw the disobedience in their eyes giving me my answer. I felt my heart flutter, especially when my eyes landed on Sam. He kept close to me, glaring daggers into Diana. I could feel that he was completely adamant in his choice to stay. I didn't know what, but I was incredibly happy to know he wanted to stay. Diana sighed and pressed a finger to her temple, rubbing it gently.
Either all of you are playing a very convincing hard-to-get game, or you all must be out of your minds.
Diana then looked to me, locking her gaze with mine as if to read me. I could tell she wanted me to do something, but the boys would stop her, but the stare was her only available option. Action. After a small moment of silence, Diana licked her lips before breaking the gaze battle and smiling to the boys around me.
Very well. I guess I'll take my leave now.
What? Her leave? Was she serious? The boys around me straightened up and grew confused looks on their faces as Diana stepped back and away from us with a small bow, flaunting her cleavage. Without another word, a deep purple pentagram appeared under her feet, and Diana's body slowly sank into the floor. As her head vanished into the floor, the pentagram vanished. More redundancy, Michaela. I'm gonna beat my head against my keyboard. At once, the boys relaxed and slowly began to return to their spots at the table, each in deep thought.
She'll be back, but she won't kill us. She needs us alive.
Whatever. We'll just keep saying no. She can't force us to come back.
She can't do anything but annoy us. Eventually, she'll give up.
That's the hope, anyway.
Hopefully. Sam walked over to me and placed a hand on my shoulder, looking at me with concern.
If she comes after you, you need to tell us, okay?
Another thing I would do if I remade this game is expand upon this arc of the game. I unfortunately didn't have time to expand this arc of the game to more than what it needed, because there was going to be a whole, Mika versus Diana fight in this whole thing. But I never got the time. I didn't have the time to do it. I'm just like, ugh. I nodded, knowing that he wanted to protect me. Sam gently took his face from my shoulder. I took his hand from my shoulder and gently moved a strand of hair from my face, however making me blush and forget what I was thinking about. Chaos Child, thank you so much for the 400 bits. Happy birthday, thank you, with a little chaos. Thank you, Chaos. The sound of collective chuckles and playful snickers whispered through the air, making me blush even more. As Sam grunted in reply, the laughter stopped. I looked up to see he was glaring at his brothers, a fist forming in his hand, ready to swing at one of them. He and I pulled away from each other just as the sound of Naomi's car appeared. I quickly ate my food, waved to the boys, and left, confident that nothing was going to happen. Never, ever say that nothing will happen before the day is over. I avoided talking about the ride back home yesterday, saying that the ride was a one-time thing. I'll be riding with you guys from now on until to and from school. The girls seemed very happy. We entered the school, quickly gathered our things from our lockers, and headed to class. There were no events, to our surprise. History wasn't exactly fun, but our teacher was great. At least he would have been great if he was in class that day. Naomi and Susie took their seats around me. Susie in front of me, Naomi beside me. Before the class bell rang and the class was greeted by the dean.
Students, you'll be having a substitute for class today. Everyone meet
Miss Diana.
My heart stopped.
Wow.
At the door, the dean was Diana, looking over the students and smirking as her eyes landed on me. She strutted to the teacher's desk, ignoring, or welcoming, the whispers from the other students before sitting on the wood and crossing her legs.
Thank you, Dean. You can go now.
With a wave of Diana's hand, the dean left the classroom, closed the door, and left the area. Diana smiled at us, making my stomach turn. What was she going to do?
So, history. History. Such a silly thing, isn't it? I mean, what do we care about the past? We're in the present.
The rest of the class, including Naomi and Suzu, hesitantly nodded in agreement, unsure about this new teacher, but willing to listen to more of what she had to say.
The present is so full of wonderful things. While the labors of the past are the reason we have many things, it is our chance and privilege to utilize what has been given to us.
Her charm was almost infectious. The class was practically starting to eat out of her hand. I looked around to see classmates grinning and agreeing with Diana. I pressed my lips together. As I listened further, I had no choice.
What's even funnier about human beings is that some of the bits of history we hear is either made up or completely biased to one side. It's like a story you read as a child. You hear of the princess and the prince, and they live happily ever after. But what about the family she left behind? What of her friends?
You can still fucking visit. It's not like you completely cuts them off.
The students listened and agreed intently with her words. I could tell, however, that these words were all targeted at me.
The original story of the Little Mermaid, a perfect example of biased opinion. Here we have a girl who thinks she can be with this prince, but this prince has to marry a princess. What would happen if the mermaid had her way? What makes the mermaid so important that the princess has to suffer the consequences?
It doesn't matter what happens to the princess can go fuck off! The rest of the class turned their heads to me. Naomi and Susie looked at me with equally surprised looks. I kept my eyes to Diana. If I was the mermaid, I wasn't going to let the princess take my prince away. Diana stared at me before smiling and turning her body to fully face me.
Oh? And why does it not matter?
The story isn't about the princess. The story is about the mermaid and the prince.
But that is exactly my point. While the story talks about the mermaid and the prince's romance, we don't see the problems of the kingdom the prince rules. While we are all fixated with this love story, we ignore the fact the kingdom would fall apart without the marriage between the prince and princess.
She kept her eyes to me as she spoke. I knew she wanted to make her words stick in my mind, but I didn't listen. It was one thing to be a fictional story. It was another to try and ruin someone's life for selfishness. Diana chuckled and looked back to the class.
Well, luckily in the real story of the Little Mermaid, the mermaid knows that what she was doing was wrong, and she threw herself into the ocean, turning into sea foam.
And no one knows that I left this nugget of information specifically for Seduce Me Too. Think about it if you've played Seduce Me Too. This is actually heavier. Think about it. Gavin, you're starting to get it. I laid out Diana's entire arc in this one fucking section of the game. Everyone's like, how did you make Seduce Me Too? It's such an interesting story. I've been plotting this entire story since 2012. You don't think I have all the information? And some of you motherfuckers are just going, holy shit, we did not connect to this. We did not connect this.
I was like, this is fucking worth it.
It's my birthday, no. Some of the students that surrounded me mumbled in surprise, obviously not knowing the real story. However, Diana was wrong once again. That's not true. Once again, the class looked to me, and Diana faced me with another smile.
Not true. How so?
The trade-off for becoming human was marrying the prince or turning into sea foam. However, she was also given the choice to kill the prince and turn back into a mermaid. The mermaid didn't because she loved him and sacrificed herself for that love. Another piece of information. That was a story worth telling. Not some princess getting her way, but of a tragedy that had befallen a girl who only wanted love. The class applauded me, with Susie giving me her usual punch to my shoulder, and Naomi smiling at my logic. Diana, however, finally grew an almost angered face at me.
Interesting. So what you are saying is that the princess should be given no mind.
The story is not about the princess. The story is about the mermaid, and the mermaid should have gotten her prince.
Even at the risk of a kingdom falling apart?
Even if the entire world fell apart around them. Duty does not overrule love, and the princess needs to realize this. The applause that followed intensified with whoops and hollers. I felt a wave of confidence roll through my body. Diana wasn't going to win. I wasn't going to let her. Diana then stopped talking and looked at the clock on the wall, reading it quickly. This class had barely begun. Why was she looking at the time? Diana then leaned against the blackboard and smiled to us. I became worried.
You know what? School isn't important. Everyone, go ahead and head home. Take the week off.
Diana's a fucking liar. School is actually very important. Please go to school. Please get your educations. The students suddenly began to chat happily or in confusion of the situation. Many thought this was a dream come true. Others knew better. Before anyone could protest, however, Diana pressed a finger to her lips and counted down with her fingers in the air. 3, 2, 1. The speakers of the classroom gently awoke, giving us an announcement we would never believe.
Attention students! Due to an emergency faculty meeting, we will be closing school for the remainder of the day and this entire week. Please leave the school quickly and quietly and have a good rest of the week.
She used her powers on them. Damn it! I felt the need to stop her, but how could I stop a demon in the middle of a public area? Diana smiled before gesturing to the door.
Have a nice week off. School will resume next week.
Many of the students filed out, chatting to each other about new impromptu plans. Susie was beyond happy, but Naomi was hesitant. Before we could pack up and leave, however, Diana stepped to us.
Excuse me, little miss. I'd like you to stay a little while. There's something we need to discuss.
As Diana looked to Susan Naomi, she snapped her fingers, making my friends tense up.
You two can head home. Don't worry about your friend until next week, okay? If you contact her, she won't reply, so don't bother. If she contacts you, ignore her, because she's just fine.
As if on command, Susan Naomi left the room. I tried to march after them, but Diana stepped in my path, warning me with her eyes that if I followed, there would be hell to pay. I had lost my two friends, at least for a week. Diana and I were alone, just like she won. I slammed my hands on the desk in front of me and glared at Diana. What are you doing and what are you thinking?
What? Do I not make a good teacher? I figured you should have a little lesson, so I took matters into my own hands.
Whatever you're trying to do won't work.
You really think so, dear? And what makes you so sure about that?
What's making me so sure? Why was I confident? Are the boys worth this? My thoughts began to fill with doubt. All of the uncertainties about this whole ordeal began to cloud my mind. If the boys were ever found out, there'd be hell to pay. Was it worth it? What about Diana? What would she do to me? Would she make my parents forget about me completely? Would she ruin my friends' lives out of spite? In my gut, I felt a stone of confidence try to fight back, but the heaviness of my thoughts began to dissolve that stone little by little. What was going on with me? I looked up to Diana once again to see her gaze boring into my eyes. She was using her powers on me. This time I was away from home, so I couldn't escape. Or could I? Did I want to? The way she stared at me made me feel warm and fuzzy inside my chest. It felt like melting. Diana lifted a hand under my chin and rubbed her thumb over my lips, licking her own. I could feel little shots of energy zipping from under my skin into my chin where she held me.
Now, let's have a little taste of that sweet, virginal sexual energy.
Drink! I watched as she leaned in, ready to kiss me and take my energy. Half of my body felt elation at the idea. The other half completely rejected it and didn't want her to even touch me. Sam! Suddenly, Diana stopped in her tracks.
Sam? Who is...
Then it dawned on her.
Ah, one of the boys. Why don't you tell me which boy is Sam?
I felt myself nod in compliance. The third.
His real name is Colonel Sanders.
Diana giggled in reply before letting go of my face and stepping back.
Really? The brute? With you?
And what of it, bitch?
I nodded once again, but this time it was partly my own decision to reply. Diana let out a sound that mimicked a cat's purr before stepping away from me.
Alright then. Well, if it's the brute you're infatuated with, you should really rethink your romantic options.
Diana chuckled before kissing my nose, where I felt a shot of energy zap out of my body, almost making me dizzy and recoil. Diana then turned to the desk and sat on the wood, crossing her legs.
You can go now. Remember, no class for the rest of the week.
And how am I supposed to get home? My two friends left me here thanks to you.
Oh, were they your ride? My apologies. Let me help then.
Diana then lifted her hand and snapped her fingers. I then suddenly felt the floor sink from underneath me, forcing me to look down. A purple pentagram surrounded my feet, pulling me into the ground. Whoa, 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 whoa! Before I could fight, however, I sank fully into the floor, fading into darkness and shutting my eyes.
God damn it, we're in the realm of darkness.
As I opened them, I felt my silk sheets around me, soothing my anxiety from the darkness that had previously surrounded me. What the?